Welcome to tonight's webinar, Understanding the Problem of Evil, Suffering, Persecution, etc. Let's get started right away by jumping into the personal book. Now, right away, I need to introduce a term that you got to become familiar with, because this term is critical for your searching, but also just for talking intelligently about this. And the word is theodicy. You can see it right there, Theodicy. And if you're ever wondering, when someone uses these theological terms, there's a handy little resource called the Pocket Dictionary to define theological terms. And most of these issues or these terms are mentioned in this little book. And so here's a great little definition: a response to the problem of evil in the world that attempts logically, relevantly, and consistently to defend God as simultaneously omnipotent, all-loving, and just, despite the reality of evil. Now, that could be made even simpler, but you can see that a book like this is so helpful in bringing about the key ideas behind these vocabulary words that maybe you're not familiar with. So an excellent little resource. And by the way, welcome David from the Philippines. Thrilled to have you tuning in from over there. Now, let's talk about some other places where you can find these terms defined. And I've given you a collection here, so let me go ahead and paste this right into the chat area. And then here's the collection rule as well. So let me put that in there. You can have that in the chat box. Now, what I'm going to do is a really simple search. I'm going to click on the search icon at the top left. Next, I'm going to click on basic search. And one of the features in Logos 7, which I'm really thrilled to see they finally have done, is it remembers now the collections that I have selected for the searches. So it's really important that you create the collections exactly the way I do. So let's go ahead and do this one together. So go to Tools, and let's go to Collections. And we're going to put in the name. Now I'm going to go ahead and look mine up since I think I already have it in there. So what you want to do is you want to copy that L7-07-Theological Dictionaries, Encyclopedias, and Historical Doctrine. You want to copy that content into the first box right there as the collection name. Then you want to select the collection rule, which follows in the next section, and paste that in the second box. Once you've done that, you'll see the list of resources below that are fulfilling that particular rule. And based on your library, you might see more or less resources. Once you're done, I like to click New. That's just a sure way to make sure Logos has saved this, but it also makes sure that you don't accidentally overwrite it. So we're ready to close the collection window. So let's go ahead and click on the X on the tab. Now we're ready to select the rule. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in the first few letters. In this case, L7, and I'm going to look for 07, so I'm going to actually type that in too. And then I'm going to look for Dictionaries, Encyclopedias, Historical Doctrine. There it is. Now that this rule is selected, we can actually put in this specialized search. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy this for you just to make it a little bit easier tonight, and we'll put that one right in there. Go ahead and select and paste, and we've now got the basic information. Now what we're doing here is we're taking advantage of the dictionaries that you have, encyclopedias, historical doctrines, and looking up this particular word, theodicy or problem of evil, the phrase, and see how they define the term. Now, this is going to go much deeper and more in depth than that pocket dictionary. So, for example, here's the Encyclopedia of Religion and Ethics. And I open it up, and we've got the term, and now we've got the concept. But even further, it goes into the origin of the concept, and then it works through some historical information, how Leibniz dealt with it and his whole argument. Number 5, theodicy and the philosophical reflection. Number 6, theodicy and the religious conscience. And then it has a bibliography of additional resources. So not only can you find a quick definition, but you can get a more in-depth definition and a good understanding of the topic. Very powerful when you search with this particular phrase. That large text and heading will focus on those chapter sections or chapter titles or paragraph titles where this is dealt with. And sometimes you'll be surprised by some of the search results. For example, here we have a discussion on the topic of theodicy, but in relationship to the flood, which later we're going to discuss because this is an important example to share when you're talking to people about the problem of evil. So not only can you get definitions, but you can get quick overviews and some additional mini studies on this topic. Really good background material. So take advantage of that little search right there. All right, another search you can do, if you're not getting that many results, one way to increase your results is to remove this large text and heading. So I'm just going to go ahead and just put in those 2 words, and I'll copy this to your chat box so you can have that there. And then I'm going to paste it right here into my search box. Now, by removing the large text and heading and all those extra special search tags, you're now going to find this information within the paragraphs, within the chapters. And this won't be as precise of a search, but at least you'll get sentences or paragraphs discussing or making references to the topic. And so this can increase your search results and find surprising details as well. Now, you certainly will get some of these major titles back, but notice that sometimes you get other articles that maybe have nothing to do with the Odyssey. For example, here we have a topic on human creativity. Now, that's the main topic, but then within that is this idea of theodicy, which it turns out that this is a major article on theodicy after all. But again, you'll find some additional articles with this search than you would with the specific heading or large text search. So this is a great way to increase your search results and find more details. So take advantage of that search as well. So let's go ahead and close that search window down and this book, and let's return to the personal book. All right, so let's talk about what's in your library. And here's a real simple collection that I highly recommend creating. So let's do this together. Tools, collections, and let's call this the webinar of problem of evil. And I'll go ahead and paste that again. So there's webinar, problem of evil. And here's the rule. So I'll go ahead and paste that in there as well for you. So you have the rule. Now, this is designed to find all the books in your library that are dealing with this issue. It's pretty comprehensive. It may not get every single book, but it's going to get you at least 90-95% there. And so let me go ahead and pull that up. I've already got one built, so I don't want to build 2 of them. Okay, so let me explain real quick what's going on here. I've clicked on the details view. So if you go over to the right of the collection window, you'll see this grid here. And if you click it, you have cover view, tile view, and details view. So if you're wondering where I got this subject theodicy, you'll see that there's column titles. And if you scroll all the way to the right or nearly to the right, you're going to see these various column titles. One of them is subjects. And that's where I found this information, theodicy. You can see it right there. You're also going to see another popular one is good and evil. That is related to the subject. And then there's a few others, suffering, biblical teaching, etc. So that's being pulled from the subjects column. If you're not seeing the subject column, just right-click on any one of those columns. You'll see a menu appear with the various column titles. Locate subjects and click in. And once it's selected, you'll see a check mark next to it letting you know that it's been selected. I have them all selected to make it a little bit easier. So if you're wondering where these specialized subjects are coming from, that's where they are. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this. You can click New, close the window down for collections by clicking on the X, and let's do a search against this particular collection. All right, so we've pasted in the specialized search, and what this is going to do is search the specialized books on the topic of theodicy. Now, the reason we're doing this search on a select number of books and not the whole library is to reduce the number of search results and get better search results. And that's why we like to search on collections. This will help you find out which books in your library deal with this topic and what are the best places to go first when you study this topic. And so this is a great way. And as you can see, the varieties of theodicy from a reader, John Hicks' soul-building theodicy. This is really helpful in getting a good understanding of the books that you have in your library on this topic. So I'm going to go to number 4 now. Let's create some specialized theological collections. Now, this first one, we're going to hold off from copying and pasting because there's just too much going on here. These specialized collections are from the LearnLogos 7 training bundle. So that's where all these are. They're in the supplement document. What I want to get across here to save some time is just introduce them to you to let you know that on this particular topic, we're going to want to leverage these. So there's a systematic theology collection. There is a historical theology collection. There is a theological journals collection. And there's an apologetics and evangelism collection. Those are 4 key collections. All these, again, are in the LearnLogos 7 training bundle. So I just want you to think about, as you're studying this particular topic, that you want to organize around the systematic, the historical, and the theological journals, as well as the apologetics and evangelism. That's where most of this information is going to be discussed in depth. Now, there is not to say there aren't other books that won't discuss it, but that's what the previous collection that we did, the webinar probably.